gamers, gaming with Melko here, bringing you another Clash Royale video. This is going to be another deck spotlight, guys. So if you can order me a big favour, before we kick off is hit that like button, see if we can get to 50 likes on this video, and while you're at it as well, guys, if you've not already done so already, hit that subscribe button as well. So guys, let's have a look at the deck that we are going to be using today. That's right, guys, it's the 3 Musketeer deck. Woohoo! About time we've got around to this, but here we go. So guys, the deck consists of the Giant, the 3 Musketeers, the Minions, the level 8 Minion Horde, the Elixir Collector, the Valkyrie, the Fireball, and the Zap spell. So for some tips and tricks on how to utilise this deck, guys, stay around to the end of the video and I'll go through a couple of tips and tricks to get the best out of it. So let's have a look at a couple of replays so far. As you can see, guys, this deck has been working exceptionally well for me. Winning its last 3, it did have a defeat in there against a very tough deck, which did include both the Lumberjack and the Ice Wizard. Throwing in their level 10 Minion Horde as well, a level 4 Prince, and a level 4 Goblin Barrel with the level 3 P.E.K.K.A. And obviously, we did have a couple of victories before that as well. All 3 crown victories you will see apart from that one. So guys, we're going to have a look at some of these replays now and show you how this deck actually works. Now, the thing is with this deck, guys, we're going to realise again, I'm going up against a level 9 player, but as I said before, my card levels are the same level, if not lower, than a lot of level 9 players. So as you can see, our opponent drops down the Goblins and the Mini P.E.K.K.A, so I decided to just fireball those off, stop the opponent getting off any damage against our tower, giving us a good Elixir advantage to start off with. But to continue with that Elixir advantage, I'm going to pop down that Elixir Collector at the back. Now, we are about levels for devils with Elixir, but we do have that Elixir Collector now, which is boost. Now, we haven't had the Giant yet, who I want to try and get up front before getting either the Minions or the 3 Musketeers behind. So I drop those Minions down, which are then going to take out that Hog Rider. Pop the Giant in front as a distraction to that Wizard and the Valkyrie as well. Now, we're up on Elixir here, so we're going to have a big solid push towards this tower. Our opponent does use the Fireball and misses, giving us a 1-0 victory, or 1-0 crown head start to start with. So at this point, it's not looking too clever for our opponent. We do have the Elixir advantage as well, so we're going to drop down those 3 Musketeers, those lovely ladies, and we're going to go for a solid 3-0 victory very quickly. Did you just see how all those cards worked together on both offense and on defense? So that was the first battle, a very easy one, I must say. So we're going to have a look at another one here, where we're going up against an opponent, again, level 9, but with some level 7 and even some level 10 commons in there, something I do not even have myself. So guys, we're going to start it off now. Obviously both have the Giant, so our opponent's going to drop his Giant down and we're going to drop ours down on the opposite side of the field. Obviously ours is level 7 against his level 6, so we do have a distinct advantage here. Now, he's going to drop down his Musketeer behind his Giant to give it some support. So I'm just going to Fireball, take out that Musketeer, and do some damage to the tower at the same time. Some people wouldn't see that as a positive trade-off, but for me, I'm quite happy with that. So I'll let those minions there take out the Giant, and then they're going to take out that Bomber as well. So I use the Zap spell there to allow my Giant to do some more damage to that tower, while my Valkyrie takes out those Barbarians, which are level 10, may I add. So at this point, we have got a significant amount of damage off both towers at this point, and we haven't used our Elixir Collector or our 3 Musketeers yet. So we're just letting our Elixir build back up before we drop that Elixir Collector at the back, where our opponent then drops down his Bomb Tower. So obviously this guy is using a very common Giant Balloon deck, so we're just going to play it out. So we drop our Giant as well at the back just after our opponent's dropped his. Now we still do have the Elixir advantage because of that Collector. So I'm going to drop my minions behind at this side, so by the time they get to that Giant, the Giant's going to be on our side of the field. Our opponent does use the arrows though, so I'm just going to drop down my 3 Musketeers to take out that Giant, as our opponent is now low on Elixir. They're then going to take out the other Musketeer. Our opponent does unfortunately waste that rage spell, so I'm going to drop down my Valkyrie in front to take the brunt of the damage for those musketeers. That tower unfortunately is going to go down very quickly, and because of that we're going to take this tower down on the left hand side and do significant amount of damage to the far tower as well. These musketeers as well are going to start taking out that tower, with the giant taking out the second tower as well. At this point it's game over, another 3-0 victory. All because I held off those 3 musketeers until they were required, without our opponent knowing what I was holding. So guys, we'll just have a look at one more replay here. We'll have a look at this 2-1 victory, which was very tight against our opponent with the Hog Rider, but he also had the level 2 Ice Wizard in there as well. So let's have a look at this one and see how we do. So again, not the best side hand because we haven't got the giant, but we do have the Elixir Collector and the Valkyrie. So we're just going to hold off to decide what we're actually going to do, if our opponent does anything or not. So we're going to drop down the Elixir Collector because we don't want to waste any of that lovely elixir, do we now? So our opponent drops his Hog Rider, but he drops it in the back. A very strange move indeed. So I'm going to drop down the Valkyrie in the front, and then I'm going to drop down the minions to support, because our opponent does decide to freeze. A fantastic move there. And he does use the zap spell as well, so if we had lower level minions, they would have actually been destroyed, and it done even more damage to our tower. At this point our opponent is in a good lead on damage, but we do have the elixir advantage, so it's time to start our push. Drop the giant in front, and because we know our opponent's used his zap spell, we're going to drop down that minion horde behind. So take out that cannon very quickly and then take out our opponent's minions. That giant and those minions are going to take out those goblins that have been dropped and start going to work on that tower, which is going to disintegrate in front of our very eyes, going down to just over 300 HP. We drop down the Valkyrie, followed by those minions. Unfortunately, it does have that Ice Wizard to counteract it. So those minions go in, and they do manage to take out that tower with a little help from that Valkyrie, put us in a solid position, and we do have the elixir advantage as well. So opponent drops down the Hog Rider, so we use a Fireball to take out that minion horde and that Hog Rider in one fell swoop. We're going to drop the giant down here. No, we're not. They've got that mini P.E.K.K.A, so we're going to drop the giant down purely as a distraction. Now, our opponent does use the zap spell, but we're not too worried about that. So here go the minions behind that giant. Hopefully the tower's going to lock onto the giant, but unfortunately those minions decide to go ahead. So we drop down the Valkyrie's distraction to allow that giant to get to that tower, while that Valkyrie takes out that Ice Wizard. Now unfortunately I didn't let my elixir build it because I wasn't really paying attention. But those 3 musketeers are going to take out those troops and start to work on that second tower. Unfortunately, we do lose that one tower, but we do have a strong advantage here, so I'm not too concerned. So I drop down the mini horde and then the giant. I drop the giant in time to obviously provide distraction. Our opponent does decide then to drop the cannon, just to no avail, and this second tower is going to go down very, very quickly thanks to that giant and those minions. Now we are going to try and push for the 3 crowns here, but unfortunately I don't think we're going to have enough in the bag, obviously as you're aware you're not. But those 3 musketeers are going to take out that mini P.E.K.K.A, take out those minions, and then going to start going to work on that tower. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do enough damage in enough time. That was a fantastically placed zap spell there. Throw the fireball and the zap at the end just for a bit of good fun. So guys, 3 victories, 3 solid attacks in a very fun deck to play with the lovely 3 musketeers. So guys, let's just have another look at that deck before I give you a couple of hints and tips how to use it. Obviously you have the giant, the 3 lovely ladies themselves, the 3 musketeers, the minions, the minion horde, which as you can see mine is still only level 8, the elixir collector, the Valkyrie, the fireball and the zap spell. Now the zap spell is there obviously to slow opponent's troops down, to allow you to potentially get your musketeers in and to get some shots off. It's also there to help obviously weaken your air troops as well. Your giant is your big buffer, your tank as it were. You can either, depending on how the situation is going, where you actually start on the field, either at the back of the field to allow time for the elixir to build up and get troops behind, or at the front to obviously push for that tower attack. Always try and hold off on your 3 musketeers until they can be advantageous, until you know your opponent is low on elixir, and that way they're going to be much harder to counter, especially with a fireball, because obviously, as we know, one fireball to those musketeers can destroy them depending on the level of that fireball. The Valkyrie is a fantastic card on both offense and defense. As you can see in a lot of my battles, if I don't have the giant in my starting hand, I will utilize the Valkyrie, dropping her off at the back of the field to allow and start a push before potentially putting the giant down at the same time, or even those minions, or that throws 3 musketeers. The fireball's there for both offense and defense, especially good at taking out towers. The minion horde is there for pure DPS, but also obviously so are the minions. Once they've zapped one or got rid of those one, they will not necessarily know that you've got the other one ready to come at them, especially in the first couple of seconds of the game, allowing you to do significant damage to those towers. So guys, that's it from me. If you like what you see, comment below, let me know. If you've not subscribed guys, do me a big favour and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you gamers next time. Take care.